Welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about struggles and celebrations that leaders and entrepreneurs experience on their journey to success. I'm your host, Kristina, and I'm passionate about helping you achieve massive amounts of success at work and at home. We'll talk about all things people and organizational wellness, share relatable stories, and feature insightful guests because quality people and processes are at the heart of every success story. Ready to learn, grow, and have fun? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm your host, Kristina Schmidt. So this has been a busy week. So if you're listening to these in real time, you may have noticed I had a big webinar midweek, but it also opened the doors and opened the cart to my newest course called the Cornerstone, How Leaders Are Made. And so what that is, it's a course for Catholic leaders where we figure out who they are, who their team is, or who it should be if they don't have one, or if they need to realign it, where they're going. And what all that does is it gives us our identity, where we're supposed to be in life, and helps us lead better. And so we get better results. And so it's a 5-week boot camp where we'll work through each block of the Cornerstone framework. I will link the podcast to that where I talk about that below. But we work through each block in a supported group so that you can get your basic framework built for how you're going to continue to work through that framework to build your business and to build the strength in your business. And so super excited. It is an amazing offer going on. And so I will link that page in the show notes as well. But it's on my website, KristinaSchmidt.ca/cornerstone, if you want to go check that course out. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more to give you a little bit more depth as to why this course has been so important to me, and really just what you're going to gain from it and what your team is going to gain from it, whether it's your work team or your home team. People are going to win. So today I want to talk about healing at work. So you might say, Kristina, I do not work in the medical field. I do not heal at my work. We build things, or we sell things, or we serve food, or whatever it might be that you do at your work. So you might be saying, I don't know. I don't think I buy what you're selling there. But I want to start kind of way far back, and then I'll kind of lead you into it and explain what it is that I mean. So first of all, let's talk about science. So science for a long time, and especially when it was first starting, was a way to prove God's existence. So many early scientists were faith-filled men, mostly, but men and women. And so they were trying to basically understand the design of the world and understand how things work. And so this complete separation that we think that there is between science and faith, it's new, relatively new, we would say. Because really what it is, like what science is, it's an investigation to understand how things work. And so that's what we're doing here, how they're designed and how they're meant to be. And so what we find most of the time when we're doing that sort of research is, not me, I don't do that research, but what we find is that it's a perfectly well balanced design. It is designed perfectly. And so that goes for science, as well as like social science and like psychology, that sort of science. Because when you start to look at human behavior as well, you can see that it also works perfectly. And so there are so many things that you can see that we've discovered through social science and human behavior research that are exactly, when you go back to what you should do, it's exactly what the Bible tells us to do as well. And the same goes for leadership, because most of leadership is understanding human behavior, working with humans to understand how we're best motivated, how we're going to be most effective, and how we're going to give our best at work or at home. So backing up again. So work back in the day, I'm not giving any specifics as to when I'm speaking of, but work started as a very physical thing, right? So we had to plow fields. We had to, cut down our own wood. We had to do all of this physical sort of labor to get things done, to survive, basically. Like, so we worked to survive, not to make money to then survive. So we're almost a step removed nowadays, because now we work to get paid money, and then that helps us to buy the things that we need. So it's a different level of trade. So rather than trading our time for the actual like sustenance that we get, we trade our time for money and then go get our sustenance from other places. And so that's all fine. But what happens when you physically exert yourself? If you've ever worked out really hard or ran a long distance or like really pushed yourself, rather, like, yes, you're usually tired, but usually your body is pumped with endorphins. It's like excited. It's healing itself, right? And so that actually comes as a stress thing. So your body is under stress, and therefore it's pumping out the hormones to deal with the stress when you're in it. And then it changes its hormone levels afterwards to heal your body. And so that is a physical sort of healing when we're working out. But the thing with stress is that stress, whether it's physical or mental, it has the same result. So our body still goes through that same level of endorphins. And so our body is doing things so that we can fight the stress off when we're in it. But then it also releases the cortisone and the cortisol so that it heals our bodies as well. Granted, we don't always need the same physical healing when we're dealing with a mental thing, but our body is still doing the same thing. So what that says is that our body is designed uniquely to heal itself. And so when we're in a good balance, our bodies are self-healing and self-caretaking, basically, and balancing. And that's because they are designed perfectly, right? And so the science behind understanding it, whether it's a physical thing that's happening or the mental thing happening, is that trying to understand how it works, which is great. So now, work today. How can work today, if it's not physical, also be healing? So before I get into why it's healing, I want to get into where it's damaging. And so many people work in the toxic work environment. So a workplace where you're expected to just show up, punch your card, do the things, and then you're not respected. You don't feel like you're being valued. You don't feel like your opinion matters. You don't feel like you even matter, like if they could trade you out for somebody else, right? And so those environments become these toxic places. And when somebody is in that sort of environment too long, it drains on their whole body, because what it does is it's actually creating a stress on their body, and their body is never recovering from it because they're continually going back to it. We spend so much of our lives at work that it will affect our entire lives. So when there's something awful happening at work, so if we're going to work and we're being wounded every day at work because we're not being respected, we're not being listened to, we're just putting in the drudge of the job, and we're not actually using our gifts, then when we get home, we're still dealing with that. We're carrying it with us. And now it's emanating through our whole lives and into our home life, affecting our personal relationships, affecting our energy levels and our ability to do the things that we are called to do. So live out our vocation well. So those vocations of having family, or if you're a pastor, leading your parish, right? So these are the vocations. But if you're being drained from a toxic workplace culture, that's damaging and wounding. So let's turn this around. How can work be healing? So thinking of the opposite of the toxic workplace, we want to think it's a healing workplace. And so what does a healing workplace look like? And so when people are able to use their God-given gifts, when they're able to support their own vocation, so their vocation, if it's a parent or spouse or holy orders. So if you're supporting your vocation and you feel that you're being appreciated for those things, now we can start to look at how that's healing, because rather than causing a stress, now we're supporting the humans that are with us. And so the interesting part is like company actually started. So if you think about company, the word company, there's actually two meanings of it, right? So the first one being like, yes, a place you go to work. The second one is company. I'm having company over. So company or businesses, organizations where we work are actually, they're places where people should be coming together, sharing, and growing together. And so thinking about a workplace like that, thinking about what does that positive workplace look like? What would it feel like to be in there? And how do I lead that? And so a lot of the things that if you think of it in a religious way, but a lot of the things that you're talking about here, or that I'm talking about here, is a lot of buzzwords that come out, right? We talk about an empowered workforce. We talk about engaging our employees, and all of those things are hugely important. But the way we do it isn't about throwing them pizza parties or even having Kaizen events or group events where we're letting them brainstorm and tell us what to do. That's all fine and wonderful. But if when they walk out that door, their gifts aren't appreciated, and they're told just what to do, and they're not allowed, they're not given an avenue to suggest, or their leader doesn't understand who they are. Like maybe somebody is an inventor, working genius, but they work on the shop floor and they have to do the same task over and over and over again. And then you get annoyed with them because they're constantly going off and asking questions and trying to reinvent the wheel here and reinvent the wheel here. And they're not following the process again because they just want to reinvent it all the time. And it's like, that's where their nature is. So what can you do with that person? So that person should be involved in the Kaizen events, but you can have a discussion with them saying, hey, right now you're going to put your invention aside. However, we're going to need that because we have a problem here. So we're going to invite you into this problem solving, and we're going to need your invention to help resolve it. So just being able to have the conversation that way, now that person, rather than being frustrated and wounded that, I'm unappreciated, I'm just told to turn this knob every day, and like I don't feel valued. So rather than feeling that way, and their boss saying, man, this person, sometimes they work awesome, I love their ideas, but they cannot stick to what they're supposed to do. So what you're doing is you're saying, hang on to that invention, hang on to that gift. I do need it. I do appreciate it. I just don't need it right now, but we're going to need it over here. So just hang on to that. Think while you're working, you can come up with some great ideas, and then we'll be really ready to attack this problem when it's time. So you're just saying, okay, hold back for a bit, but I'm going to bring it out. And so that is healing of that relationship, number one, but also is healing for that person, because that person gets to use their gifts that God gave them. And you as the leader get to reap the benefit of that, and they get to reap the benefit of that healing process and that thing that they get to do, that they love to do, that makes them feel wonderful and brings them joy and empowers them and engages them. And so how much harder do we work when we feel empowered and engaged and excited to go there, knowing we're going to get to use the gifts that we have, even if it's not all the time, because none of us get to use them all the time. We all have to work in our frustrations. We all have to work in those areas where it's hard for us. But if we're leaders and we know that about our team, we know when it's hard for them, then we can support them. I know for myself, I have a wonderful team of support helping me in a mastermind that I'm in right now, as I've been trudging this week, getting this back end of my website all up. And I'm like, oh, thank God for you guys, because you pushed me through all that tenacity work. And now I get to do the fun part that I love, because I had support and help through the hard stuff that I've struggled to do. But now I get to do all the things that I love. I get to use my enablement, so that I can speak to you, share this healing world with you. And then hopefully in the next 2 weeks, get to teach my course to a whole bunch of you so that you can all share this with your teams. And so when we think of our workplace as a way, and the culture that we build there, as a way to heal people versus a way to control them, it's just a different mindset. And so we are meant as people, right? People on this earth, and I'm not just going to say laity, all people, we're meant to heal through work. So we're meant to be holy through work. And God has designed us that way. And so he's designed us with specific gifts to utilize to do this work to bring holiness to others. And so it's a beautiful thing when you can do it. And so through this course, we first understand the gifts of the leader, but we also understand where they're wounded and where they actually might be wounding others from their wounds. I think Sister Miriam Heidland, she says, hurt people, right? And so when we're hurt, when we're wounded, we're going to wound others. So understanding and being aware of our gifts and using some mindset techniques, we can work through them and overcome them so that we're not wounding more people through our work. So once we understand that, we understand where we should be going. So what's our primary vocation? And then what is it that we need to do? What's our mission in this work that we need to do? So we're going to get that, then bring our team in and start understanding, okay, who's the team? Who are they? What are their gifts? What are their wounds? Where do they need to be going in life? Where is God calling them? And putting that together to identify metrics, create them if we have to, and create strong processes so that everybody can do it, so that it's not all leader dependent, that everything is executed so that you can get that freedom back. So you're going to learn who you should delegate to, what stuff you should be delegating, and make sure there's a standard of a process so they don't need to call you every time there's a problem, right? If there's a constant problem, you either put a problem solution into it, or you have like a flowchart thing that says, if this, then this, if this, then that. So we're going to talk through all of that stuff so that you've got a great start to get your team going, and then you can continue to work that plan. And so I'm super excited about it because the more workplace cultures that we can create as healing cultures, we'll get this engaged workforce, and we'll have the energy and we'll have the fulfillment to live out our faith, live out our God-given mission, and get ourselves to heaven, because that's the goal here. So we get the short-sighted goal of making the money to survive, but the goal is really the long-term goal, because we're going to be there a lot longer than we're going to be here. And so that movement to creating this culture that is healing and that is somewhere that people want to be, that is just motivating to me. So I hope this has been helpful and enlightening. And if you want more information on how you can create a healing culture in your business, then reach out to me. You can get in touch with me through my website at KristinaSchmidt.ca, or on Instagram at KristinaSchmidt.ca, or I'm also on LinkedIn, or you just reach out to me. I'm so excited. If this has been a blessing for you, if you find the podcast helpful, please share it with a friend and leave a review. Let me know how I'm doing. I am all about the continuous improvement, and I love to hear your feedback. I hope it's 5 stars and that you let me know that I'm doing well, because that helps the ratings and helps more people become aware. But if there's something you need me to do differently, or you'd like to hear differently, then shoot me an email. Let me know. Okay. I hope you all have a fantastic couple of weeks as we go through this May. And so looking forward to seeing some of you in the course. And if you have questions, reach out again. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about all things people and organizational wellness, because quality people and processes are at the heart of every successful business. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you know when new episodes are released. You can also follow me on Instagram at KristinaSchmidt.ca, where I share real-life tips to help in your leadership and life journey. To get one-on-one and team support with your leadership development, book a discovery call on my website at KristinaSchmidt.ca. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.